Hello and welcome to our public meeting for Monday, January 16th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. There's no resolutions coming into this one, so I'll just call it to order. The agenda, are there any comments or changes that are requested or required? Nope, seeing none. Declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. All right, well, then we'll get right into new business. The Culliver and McDonnell zoning amendment. I do see Mr. McDonnell in the crowd. Do you want to sit by a microphone in case there's any questions, or do you prefer to stay there? Okay. Just in case there's any questions throughout this process of you, could you mind sitting up? And the way you operate the microphone is there's just a talk feature. You can turn it on and off. Okay, thank you. I'll put it to Mrs. Haley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome everyone to our public meeting this evening. I'm going to read required wording under the Ontario Planning Act. This is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and/or make written or verbal representation, either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Township of South Glengarry before the bylaw is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless there are reasonable grounds to do so. So moving into the description of the amendment, this property is located at part of Lot 13, Concession 2, south side of Raisin River, in the geographic township of Charlottenburg, now in the township of South Glengarry, county of Glengarry. This is a key map of where the property is located. It's located on the north side of Leach Road and on the east side of County Road 27. The applicant or property owner recently applied for a severance to dispose of the surplus dwelling to the farming operation. The severance was conditionally approved with several conditions, one being the requirement to rezone the retained land to reduce the minimum lot area and to prohibit residential construction. This is a map that demonstrates what the severance looks like. The area in pink would contain the dwelling, and the area in blue would be the remaining farmland known as the retained land that's subject to the zoning amendment. The purpose of this amendment is to rezone the subject property from agricultural to agricultural exception 33 to reduce the minimum lot area from 20 hectares to 8.5 hectares and to prohibit residential construction. All other applicable provisions of Bylaw 3809 as amended will continue to apply. The subject property is vacant, is currently being farmed, and if this amendment is approved, no residential construction will be permitted on the land, and the land is anticipated to continue to be farmed. The subject property is currently designated agricultural resource in the county official plan, and the proposed amendment conforms to the official plan and the provincial policy statement. To date, I've received no written comments from the public. The zoning amendment application will be subject to a decision of council, and a staff report including a recommendation will be brought to council for a decision in the near future, and we anticipate that to occur at the February 6th council meeting. So if there's any questions, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions of council or comments on that? Okay, we'll go Councillor Jaworski, then Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor McDonald. I have two questions. Ms. Haley, am I correct that this is the kind of zoning request that under the new legislation, like the delegation of authority, that potentially this wouldn't come to, would it still come to a public meeting and then go to council, or how would that change?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, if we proceed with approving the delegation of authority bylaw that's before council at our meeting this evening, it's this is a perfect example of what will no longer come to council. We're still obligated to go through the public meeting requirements. If that bylaw is passed, we'll establish standard operating procedures for each land use planning process. For this type of application, it means that we would do notification of a proposed zoning amendment simultaneously with the proposed consent. So I can't tell you at this time exactly how those notices are going to work, because that means we're working closely with the United Counties, so they go out at the same time. But to answer your question is yes.
If I may, I had a second question. From what I can see online and the map, am I correct that the Leach Road is between the subject property and the peanut line? Like, so in the sense, if more clearing is being done, the peanut line is quote unquote protected by Leach Road in terms of being, if it, could inadvertently be, it wouldn't be inadvertently cleared. Is that a fair statement? Okay, thank you.
If I may, just because the mic wasn't on, the answer is yes. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Ms. Haley, I'm going to ask the question I asked you a few minutes ago, just in case anybody else is looking at their map. And the map, when I looked at it, it shows a green road going down through the middle of it. And could you just tell everyone what you told me about that green road?
Sure. So through you, Mr. Mayor, the mapping system that you're reviewing it contains the property lines established by MPAC. It doesn't necessarily mean that those are the legal property lines. When I look at parcels of property, I don't always rely on MPAC's parcel fabric. I do a review of the provincial registry system and I look at what's called the PIN layer. A PIN is a property identification number that's assigned to each legally transferable property. And in this particular case, on our system, there is no green road, which tells me at one point of time that green road was probably stopped up and closed, and therefore it's one parcel of property. Sometimes the information that we have access to isn't the most recent and up-to-date information. If something arises at the time of transferring the land, the lawyers may pick up on any legal issue that may have to be addressed. Generally, for the most part, most of these types of situations are fairly easily addressed, and an example of that would be to request to stop up and close a road allowance. And of course, that's subject to a decision of council. Council has the right to say no, but oftentimes we run into situations where we had believed they were stopped up and closed, many years, and sometimes it's just a formality. Other times it's very clearly that it's a new request. So I'm not 100% confident that the road allowance is closed, but I'm quite confident based on the research we've done that there is no road allowance on this property.
Speaking with the surveyor, Kirk Stidwell, my understanding is that it was closed south of the Raisin River, but north of the Raisin River it still is open.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any further questions of council? Excellent. I think that would be, sorry, I don't have my,
That concludes our evening.
yeah, that concludes our evening. All right, then I'll have a motion to adjourn. First by, or moved by Sam, seconded by Trevor Bougie. So all those in favor? All right, thank you. Carried. Have a good evening.